Got it.
All right, there we go. Okay, so we're on now. All right, everything's working. We got Facebook, we got YouTube, we got all kinds of stuff. We got to get a new technical crew.
All right.
So Justin Jauss, did I pronounce it right?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm Greg. I'm the conservative member of the crew here, and former talk show host, hoping to. Hey, I'm available for another show if anybody has a radio station they want to give us a call here at the Donny and Greg show. In fact, we are. Did I say the Donny and Greg show? I did. Do you like the sound of that?
I do.
Yeah. All right. So we should take a vote. Donny or Greg and Donny? Slide over a little bit. I know we're guys. We got to get a little cozy here, just because it's cameras and the lighting is weird and everything's strange, and we're at the wrong gazebo at first, and all kinds of other stuff happens. Probably nobody's here. But was there a crowd over there or no?
No, sir.
So no crowd, no studio audience, no nothing.
No, sir.
Because we were at the Fish House last week. It was hysterical. All right, so I know we only have you for a limited amount of time. Why don't you enter and sign in like a game show and say, Justin Jauss, what brings you here to the Greg and Donny show?
Well, I came by to kind of tell my side of the story. I was the subject of a attack email sent out by a congressional candidate named Cris Dosev.
We mention names here. We don't hold back because we're not regulated by the FCC, and I don't have a boss.
Great. So, Mr. Cris Dosev decided to send out an attack email about me, and you know, maybe I could have been a little bit more clear and public about my situation.
Well, take your time. You just explain it now, and we'll figure it. And we got comments. Oh, you have your comment phone?
Yep.
We're going to get the comment phone up here. So we actually have 3 devices going.
Awesome.
We're coordinating all this kind of stuff.
Awesome.
It's really cool. So yeah, we're live on a bunch of different places. It's public. So yeah, you'll be able to pick us up on the Greg and Donny News Show Facebook page and the Greg and Donny News YouTube page channel.
Remember to subscribe.
And subscribe. We need subscribers. Then we can go YouTube Live. We won't have to worry about the Facebook. Anyway.
Well, like I said, I could have been a little bit more clear about my situation in the public, but honestly, I didn't realize anybody was paying that much attention to me.
Apparently they were.
Apparently they were.
We had over 500. You know, your announcement, like 560 people reached. I would have said, so I hope 560 of you are there right now. But yeah, so it really got a lot of response. And local politics sometimes does that because people are interested. And Cris Dosev, you know, just my quick point of view, I interviewed him on WDY, and we had a great interview. In fact, I posted it last night on your posting, just so people could compare it. But something happened.
Right.
And he's gone all negative. And that's not going to help. People don't vote against; they vote for.
Absolutely.
You have to have a reason to vote for someone, and so I think he's kind of blowing it. But that's okay because I'm a Gaetz supporter, so it's all right. But so start back at the beginning. So who are you that he attacked you to begin with?
I'm just a member of a group called the Republican Liberty Caucus. And for those of you who don't know what that is, we like to call ourselves the conscience of the Republican Party. We hold to very strong constitutional limited government principles, and we believe that those are the proper principles of the entire Republican Party.
Okay. So you're the leader of it? What's your
my semi-official title is the Santa Rosa County Captain. Our particular organization is set up a little bit different than the most of the Republican Liberty Caucuses. Most of the Republican Liberty Caucuses have their own county chapters. Our chapter is the Northwest Florida chapter.
Oh, okay, so it's bigger than
yes, sir.
If you're just tuning in, this is Justin Jauss, and had a little bit of controversy with a Cris Dosev attack ad. Cris running for Congress on the Republican ticket with Matt Gaetz and John Mills. I want to talk about John Mills too. He's like the absentee-in-chief candidate.
I think we're the first supporter of his I ever met.
Why did you support him? Just you jump around a lot here.
Right. Yeah. I'm supporting him mainly because I believe that he is a limited government candidate. Not to say that Mr. Gaetz isn't, but he was endorsed by the National Republican Liberty Caucus. And as a county captain, I thought that it would be very inappropriate for me to campaign for and openly support an opposing candidate, which I had started working for the Matt Gaetz campaign before the announcement was made that.
Okay. Then you had to switch because of the. Oh, all right. But are you a Matt Gaetz supporter still, or can you say?
I believe that Matt Gaetz is a great candidate. I believe that he is one of the 2 only real conservatives in this race. That is Matt Gaetz and John Mills.
Okay. I'm curious why you don't think Cris is, but Donny, do you want to get into this? I've heard from you. You got a question right now at this time, or?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to say, Cris Dosev, keep up what you're doing. You are the best friend the Democratic Party has.
What a great endorsement!
Oh yeah.
That's gonna thrill everybody.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it, but. Yeah, I mean, just tell us a little bit more about what happened and how it, you know, we liberals always got to talk about feelings, how it made you feel.
And honestly, at first, I felt, I don't know how I felt. I was sent the email, and I thought to myself, wow.
So this only came as an email. It wasn't public yet.
Right.
Did you make it public, or did he make it public?
I made it. I believe I made it public first, and then I saw other people who had posted it publicly on their pages.
So back to the email. What do you got?
Right.
Yeah.
The email was sent out, and it was basically accusing me of being in on a conspiracy to split the military vote between John Mills and Mr. Cris Dosev.
They're both veterans. It's going to be split anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you know, they are both veterans. But the interesting thing is that
the military vote. I've never heard that before. Does military vote as a block? Does everybody, or is it like an Army, Navy, Air Force split in there somewhere too?
Honestly,
don't forget Marines. I'm sorry.
I'm not too sure how that works. But this is actually the third attack on me by Mr. Dosev. The first one came on Facebook when I asked him if he would advocate for 18 to 21-year-olds to be able to buy any type of gun in the state of Florida, because a lot of people don't know that even before the latest gun bill was passed, 18 to 20-year-olds were not allowed to buy any kind of handgun.
See, I don't agree with that. Either you get your constitutional rights, and I'm going to check with Donny on this too. You either get your constitutional rights or you don't.
Absolutely.
And I would actually tie the voting age to the gun age.
Absolutely.
So if you can't buy any gun until you're 21, you certainly can't vote till you're 21. Right. Sorry, Donny. But I mean, I don't think that's right. You can't, because now you get people voting for 3 years without able to exercise all their rights.
Absolutely.
What's the point of that? So they actually can vote against their rights because they never had them.
I actually agree with you on this.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Wow.
And
I write these down when this happens.
He didn't answer the question. He basically asked me if I was a veteran, and when I told him I was not, and I said I'm not exactly sure how that's relevant to the conversation, he basically told me that I believe in cheap liberty because I've never fought for liberty.
Wait. And I want to hold you on that. I want to get Donny on this one too. And this is one of my biggest gripes. Nothing against the military. I absolutely support the military.
Oh yeah.
What the troops are asked to do.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily support the people that sent them. I don't support the policies. I certainly didn't support the Iraq or the Afghanistan wars because they're not wars. They're not declared by Congress. They don't end. There is no specific mission. They just keep going on, and people are dying and getting crippled. Right. And I think it's wrong. And so, but there's an idea in this country, whenever you hear about fighting for freedom, it always comes to the military first, and that's where the discussion ends. And I think this is very wrong. I think people in the civil rights movement fought for freedom. I think, you know, after our founders won this country in the war for independence, they fought for freedom, you know, with the Constitution. You know, so we, in a way, are fighting for freedom. We're actually out there. We're interviewing you. Yeah. We're getting the word out. You know, so there are many ways people fight for freedom all the time. And yes, the military is one way, but it's not the only way. And I think you probably agree with this, you know, with me too. Is that there are many ways to fight for freedom. Donny and I fight for freedom with opposing views. Okay, we don't agree at all. All right, yet we're still fighting for freedom. And the freedom of thought, the freedom to think and to question. And if you, maybe other forms, wouldn't have done it. You don't see the TV stations picking you up.
Yeah, right.
You know, so I mean, this is what freedom is all about. It's us sitting here under this beautiful gazebo here in Milton with this gorgeous, you know, Blackwater River behind us. That's freedom.
Absolutely.
Back to you.
The second time was on a Facebook group called the Santa Rosa Community Group. Someone had posted something in favor of Cris Dosev, and I'm not exactly sure what the entire conversation was. I can't remember. And he straight out came, and I have some screenshots that I can show anybody.
Well, send them to the Facebook page.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is Santa Rosa Group?
Yeah, Santa Rosa Community Group on Facebook.
I don't think it's closed. I think it's open.
No, yeah, it's an open page. It's an open group.
Yeah, go take a look.
And he told everybody that I hated veterans. And then again, absolutely, he said Justin Jauss hates veterans and he makes light of their service. And he went on to question the entire Republican Liberty Caucus's commitment to the military, simply because, by and large, the members of our organization don't support him. And that's.
Do you think he's petty?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe he's petty.
Childish?
Absolutely childish.
Fit for Congress?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all fit for
Just want to get that on the record.
And honestly, even after the first attack, I would have said if he made it past the primary by whatever miracle that he had, if it had happened, I wouldn't have had a problem supporting him then. After the second attack, absolutely not. And I wasn't even going to do anything necessarily against him besides, show people what he was saying. Then came the third attack, the email, and honestly, I'm flattered that I take up so much space in Cris Dosev's mind that he had to come against me.
Oh, hey, listen, you should see the response to some of the posts I've written. And I'm asking very specific questions. Donny, you got some comments for us, or do you want to get into that? I don't want to leave you out.
So far, it's just one of Justin's friends saying Justin for mayor, Justin for governor, and Justin for oligarch.
Do you have a future in politics? Do you want to run at some point?
I do. I've been praying about it. I've been reading about it. I've been studying leadership. I've been studying government. I've been studying anything I can, honestly, in order to prepare myself to be knowledgeable and
well, that's good experience for
right,
you doing.
yeah.
This is good experience too. Just being here talking to us.
Right.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, and I'm not saying anything against the Matt Gaetz campaign or anything. I believe he's a great candidate, but when I saw the ad on Facebook that he was looking for interns, I thought, wow, what a great opportunity for me to get in, get my hands dirty, do some work, and get to know people. And I believe he's a great candidate. He's not my favorite candidate in the world.
Who is? Who would you want?
Rand Paul. Rand Paul for president.
Rand Paul's not running in our district, though.
He's not.
Yeah.
But that, as an example, someone who's very Rand Paul-like would be, and I believe that John Mills is very Rand Paul-like in his beliefs at his core, and when the whole thing happened, I was with the Matt Gaetz campaign. The Republican Liberty Caucus endorsed John Mills, and I went to them and I said, "Hey, look, guys, I've got several reasons why I'm going to have to leave. One of them was a personal reason. It was the summertime. My daughters were out of school, and I was
leaving where? The Gaetz campaign, or
leaving the Gaetz campaign.
This is Justin Jauss, if you're just joining us. Local politics. We're having a lot of fun with some of our local candidates. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, when I left the Matt Gaetz campaign, it was for two reasons. One personal and one political. The personal reason was, like I said, it was summertime. My daughters were going back to school. The months were ticking away, and I was spending more time away from home than I would have liked to.
That's politics. You live it. You live it, love it, do it all the time.
And the second reason was because of the organization that I'm with, the Republican Liberty Caucus, endorsed John Mills. And when I talked to the guys on the Matt Gaetz campaign, they were absolutely fine with it. They understood everything, and I spoke with one of Matt Gaetz's family members, and she told me, we totally understand, and if you'd like to come back after the primary, they would love to have me. And so, that was really encouraging for me to hear from one of Matt Gaetz's family members. But the big thing that happened was after I left the Matt Gaetz campaign, a few days went by, and I got a call from Mr. John Mills, and he asked me specifically. He said he told me that he had made a prior engagement before being invited to the Baghdad rally.
Because this is one of the ones that caused the controversy.
Right, yeah.
So this is the infamous Baghdad political rally. A bunch of candidates got together, and cool breeze. Oh, this is great. All right. So I want to keep everybody caught up because when you're telling a story, you know all the details. In your mind, you're leaping exactly to the event. I want to make sure. So tell us about what the Baghdad rally is and why, and then kind of lead us into it.
The Baghdad rally was a rally that was held a couple of weeks ago at the volunteer firefighter station.
This is Baghdad, Florida.
Baghdad, Florida, yes.
Just
all of the candidates from Santa Rosa County were there. Mr. Cris Dosev himself was there. Matt Gaetz ended up making an appearance. Dr. Zimmerman was there, and Mr. Ayer was there.
Ooh.
He was there as well. And
Phil there.
So everybody was there. And you know, one thing that did offend me about the email that went out, just as an aside, was he said that I was an unfamiliar face. And not to toot my own horn, there were a lot of people there who knew exactly who I was, and Mr. Cris Dosev was one of them, because he looked right at me. He said, "Hey, you're Justin, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I am."
Who said you're an unfamiliar face?
The email, the email that was sent out.
And so what?
Yeah.
Everybody's an unfamiliar face until you get going.
So
I
what?
was an unfamiliar face. I was on radio.
So what?
Still an unfamiliar face.
He's still an unfamiliar face. Well, not for long.
Not for long.
Yeah.
Speaking of so what's, he also spent a good two or three sentences describing what I was wearing at the time, which is hilarious.
The fashion commentary from the eminent Cris Dosev.
Which is hilarious because I spend a lot of time talking about what I wear on my own Facebook page, and I thought maybe he had looked, because they had people peeping my Facebook page. I thought maybe he had looked to see. He made a comment about my blue Crocs. I want to let everybody know that
What are those?
Crocs. They're like.
I don't do fashion. Okay.
They are
still wearing polo shirts.
Right. They're like they're made out of like a foam-like material. They're slip-on shoes. They're so comfortable.
He made fun of those?
Yeah. Well, in the email, he made it a point to point out that that's what I was.
Well, they're not military issue or something?
No, they're not.
Okay.
Not military. But the ones that I did buy, I actually bought on Robert Field. They weren't official Crocs. They were the BX brand of Crocs.
So they were knockoff Crocs.
Yes, they were knockoff Crocs.
Okay.
But
I got a new word there.
Another thing that you need to know about me is I have also, not only have I left the Matt Gaetz campaign, but I've left my blue Crocs behind. And I have bought a brand new pair of black official name brand Crocs. I'm not wearing them today because I'll be headed to.
We're not showing our shoes in the video.
Right.
At this particular point.
But so I've switched from the Matt Gaetz campaign to the John Mills campaign. I've switched from blue knockoff Crocs to black name brand Crocs.
You just can't hold an opinion.
It's I don't even know.
Hey, Donny, how many questions we asked this guy? Like 2?
Yeah.
You're a great guest.
Yeah.
Fun.
Let me ask you something real quick. I'm sorry to kind of cut you off there, but I'm going to pick on you a little because you're the first supporter of John Mills I've ever met.
Okay.
I've never seen this guy at an actual, at any actual event I've been to. Never really seen him do any media appearances. We invited him on the show.
Did he ever get back to you at all?
No.
Okay.
And other than
the mysterious missing Mills,
the vague answers on his website, I'm not sure where he stands. So my question for you is, I mean, is this guy really doing anything other than splitting the Republican vote?
You know, I love you, John, but he's right. I wish that we would have been hitting the ground a lot harder, a lot earlier. I wish we would have been getting the message of the Republican Liberty Caucus out earlier and a lot harder. And I think that in the future, we will take this a lot more seriously than it seems. If you want to know more about John Mills, you can visit his website. But also, I would point people to www.rlc.org/principles. There you can find the guiding principles that the Republican Liberty Caucus uses in order to form our worldview and form our opinions on politics and things. Also, in order to be endorsed by the Republican Liberty Caucus, you have to sign what's called the Liberty Compact, and I read that out loud at the Baghdad rally. Basically, it talks about abolishing. Sum it up, about abolishing government programs and not creating them, raising taxes, not raising taxes, lowering taxes. Sorry.
Donny's the charge of the raising taxes.
Right, and just maximizing liberty as much as we can, and that's what. And if you sign that Liberty Compact and you get into office and you do not adhere to it, you best believe that we're going to come after you, and we're going to be the conscience of the liberty liberty movement and of the Republican Party, just like we say we are.
But I want to follow up on Donny's question because it's a good one. What does John Mills stand for? What is he going to do in Congress?
Right. What he's going to do in Congress is, like I said, he's going to block any kind of legislation that would come through that would take away the power of the Congress and give it to some other alphabet soup agency.
And how's he going to do that?
Just by doing things like letting people know what's going on. A lot of people, the constituents, letting people know, getting them riled up, and
what are they going to do?
You know, we're gonna vote out the people that don't uphold their oath to defend the Constitution. Okay. You know, they all take an oath to uphold the Constitution when they go there, and if they don't uphold that oath, we're gonna rally against them, and we're going to get the word out and let them know that they're not holding up their deal.
There's a reason I'm beating you up on this, and I want Donny's opinion on this as well. Is that you want to go ahead?
Oh no, you can finish.
Okay. The problem with both Cris and John is that they don't have any specifics.
Right.
They have no legislative proposals.
Right.
None. I mean, you know, this is the thing that Cris is getting after me on an old Facebook post. And I say, tell me your biggest priorities and what specific legislation you're going to file to address those problems. And he's never done it. He deals in platitudes and generalities. John Mills is even worse. I couldn't even nail him down on a proposal. I met him once and I talked to him, and I had no idea what he was talking about. Okay? And so, you know, you take the platitudes, you take the generalities and go, I'm for the Second Amendment, therefore he's a good candidate.
Right.
Nonsense.
Right.
Because you have to know how to fight for the Second Amendment. All right? Now, if I ask John Mills or Cris Dosev, do they know about the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, the most overturned court in our country, had a 3-judge panel that just said open carry is essential to the Second Amendment, and would you turn that into a bill? I don't know if they have an answer for me.
Right.
But that's the kind of specifics you have to get into.
Yeah, I absolutely can understand that, and I'm not sure what to chalk that up to, but I can say that when it comes to John Mills, that if you check out the Republican Liberty Caucus website, rlc.org/.
But you're avoiding the question.
Yeah.
What specific bills and proposals is he going to file? Is he going to work on?
And that also paves the way for what I wanted to ask, which is, Joseph kind of has an answer on this. I've never heard anything from Mills. As a Never Gaetzer, I love this, but what's Gaetz doing that's not good enough? Like, why does he feel the need to run against Gaetz, who's arguably one of the most conservative members of Congress?
He is one of the most effective, too.
Right. He's very effective. He's very very conservative, and I appreciate all the work that Mr. Gaetz has done. As far as why run against him, I believe that what we're working towards is, and I don't want to sound like I don't want to downplay the campaign or anything like that, but I want to say that with campaigns like Mr. Mills's, it's more about letting people know that there's a liberty movement within the Republican Party, that there are people...
They should say that.
Right.
You should say I'm an issues candidate. Okay. Now, I mean, Pat Buchanan was famous for that.
Yeah.
We talked about that on the show before. There are people who run specifically. I think Ron Paul, when he ran for president, knew he wasn't going to be president, but he moved the bar. He changed the issues.
Yeah.
He brought things that wouldn't have been talked about before, because the journalists aren't going to ask any real questions. They're into the most petty stuff. We'll talk about that a little bit later. They're the most petty stuff out there is. We want real questions and real issues, and I have issues for both Cris and John. They won't answer a direct question. That's why I'm getting after you too. You are in the unenviable position of having to represent 3 campaigns. So it's interesting,
like I said, and also with the Bob White campaign that I've been helping out with, you know, you can look at the polls, and we're very aware of the polls. We know how that's going. But again, with Mr. Bob White for governor, he's also endorsed by the Republican Liberty Caucus. He was in town last week, and unknown to him, one of the local TV stations ran one of his videos. And we were out on gallery night in Pensacola, handing out business cards, handing out rack cards, holding signs, and at least 4 people came up to him, shook his hand, said, "We saw you on TV. We think you're great. We love that you're here tonight. Thank you for coming out." And I can tell you that to me and to Mr. Bob White and to everyone who's worked on the campaign, if we made a difference in just those 4 people's minds about the ideas of liberty and the ideas and the principles of the Republican Liberty Caucus, it makes the entire thing worth it.
Okay. What's the number 1, 2, and 3 priorities for increasing our liberty?
Increasing our liberty. We need limited government. We need...
which means what?
Which means, you know, all of, like I mentioned, the alphabet soup of government agencies earlier, we need to return to the basic constitutional functions of government.
Okay. Now, I actually wrote an article called The Constitutional Budget, where I took Article 1, Section 8, every clause, and assigned to it the government, administration, department, or agency that fit that clause.
Okay.
I got a budget of $1.1 trillion.
Yeah.
The current federal budget is about $4.6, $4.8 trillion. So three-quarters of the budget,
bigger, right?
well, so three-quarters of the budget is unconstitutional. So if you want to advocate for something specific for a limited government and you want to limit to the Constitution, take that article and see exactly what a constitutional government would look like. Walter Williams, the former chair of the economics department at George Mason University, I said he loves this thing. He loves this whole concept. I try to get his PhD students to actually write an update of a constitutional budget. But that's what I mean going for saying, I want limited government. So I want government limited to Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, the government agencies that specifically fit the clauses of that article.
Right.
That's a limited government. That's what I want to get you to.
Hey, I'm loving it. And
Donny?
Yeah,
he wants an unlimited government. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, and I'll talk to you more a little bit later about that. And like I said earlier, I'm kind of new to all of this. I'm learning as much as
No, you're asking very general answers. You're doing just fine. I just want to get you on the specifics. John, do you have a question? Or you want to go for? I want to go find another priority here. But do you have one?
I just want to hear what he was saying.
No. Well, yeah. Well, to get back to the incidents, it was.
We can jump around like crazy.
It was at the Baghdad rally.
Is that where we were?
Yes.
Sorry. We can take a Rubio break here. Hang on.
It was at the Baghdad rally, and earlier that day, John Mills called me and he said, look, I made a prior commitment before being invited to this. I was wondering if you would use my time to talk about the Republican Liberty Caucus and to let the people there know that I'm endorsed. I said absolutely I will. I said I'll do that for you. And so when I went up on stage, I talked about the Liberty Compact. I read it out loud to everybody there. I talked about our principles. I let everybody know that they had 3 chances to vote with us. I'm letting you guys know. Early voting started already, and it's over at 4:30. Today's the last day to early vote, and August 28th is the actual election day.
Is the election office open today, or is it?
It's open right now. Yeah, it opened at 8:30 and it's open till 4:30. I'm letting everybody know that that you have in our district you have 4 chances to vote with the Republican Liberty Caucus this year. Mr. Bob White for governor. You have Matt Caldwell for agricultural commissioner. You have Frank White, who's running for Attorney General. Attorney General.
We're here to help.
Right. And of course, Mr. John Mills. And I let them know. I let everybody know the endorsed candidates out there. And then I sat back down. And I did make a joke that flopped. Nobody laughed. I'm not sure if they realized it was.
Well, don't tell that one again.
I won't.
All right.
I won't. And I'm gonna do a better job of judging whether or not I should open with the joke or not.
No.
But
no, because you risk too much.
Right, absolutely.
We open with like a catastrophe. How the cameras are working. It seems to work for us, but that's actual reality. So
absolutely.
And you know what? Another thing that's really good in speech is totally improv. You don't have prepared notes. You're just talking.
Right, right.
I mean, I have notes for things later on, but basically I have like bullet points. So a lot of what's really nice in politics, if you can be spontaneous, you look more genuine.
Right,
okay?
right.
People, even though, like I said, I'm getting after you because I want more specifics, people know you're genuine.
Right.
Okay, you're speaking from the heart. You don't have a prepared script. I want to tell you today the way I feel is that, I mean, that just doesn't work.
Right, right.
Teleprompters are crazy, but this is just live, I say unedited, unscripted, unrehearsed. Yeah.
Right. Yep. So after I spoke for Mr. John Mills and the Republican Liberty Caucus, that really got under Chris's skin for some reason.
Does he have something against the Liberty Caucus? Did they have an incident in their past, or?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think that he's sought our endorsement. We did endorse back in 2016. We endorsed Rebecca Bidlack.
Over Mike Hill?
And we endorsed her again over Mike Hill.
Do you have a reason for that? Is
I think it was more to do with the fact that she actively sought us. And
well, that makes sense.
Yeah, and we've been friends with her for a long time, and and there was a point in time when the Republican Liberty Caucus did endorse Mr. Mike Hill. If I remember looking back at the endorsements. And it was a few years ago. I'm not exactly sure on the specifics, but if I'm not mistaken, there was a point in time when we did endorse him. It was before I was a member, so I'm not too sure. I didn't join the Republican Liberty Caucus until October of 2017, and I was a refugee of the Libertarian Party. Well, actually,
they seem very similar. Liberty Caucus.
Right.
You know, I'm getting a little warning light here. It looks like we're getting low on batteries here, so we might have to sum up it a bit so we can keep going. But is there much difference between the Libertarian Party and the Liberty Caucus?
Well, I'll tell you what drew me specifically to the Liberty Caucus as opposed to the Libertarian Party. I'm very much a family man. Anybody who knows me can tell you that. Anybody, even at the Baghdad rally, my daughters were there at the Baghdad rally, the Libertarian Party. I don't see the type of values that I want to be associated with, that I want my family to be able to gather around, represented by the Libertarian Party. I'm not sure if anyone has watched any of their what are they called, the conventions, but there's a lot of questionable things that go on at their conventions. At this last one,
Donny was right with me.
Right.
There we go.
At the last one, there was an incident where they had brought in dildos to wave around.
There goes the family show.
Right. And that was ridiculous.
For like sexual liberty or something?
And honestly, I wasn't paying enough attention to even know why they were there.
Stupid.
It was. Oh, and also they were working on anti-torture platform for the party. And I kid you not, there are people in the Libertarian Party who were arguing to amend their platform to be more S&M friendly, so that it didn't sound like they were against S&M in their platform.
I want Donny to hear this, but the Libertarian Party, you know, it's almost like two groups, right? You've got those that are constitutional libertarians and those that are like social, drug, and sex libertarians.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay? And they're all kind of lumping together.
Right.
I think you need to separate the constitutional libertarians from the open border smoking and marijuana and sex libertarians.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And unfortunately, it's the second group that is the loudest. It's the second group that gets the cameras rolling. It's the second group that people pay attention to. And that was something that I didn't want to be associated with. I think that the 2016 election was a great opportunity for the Libertarian Party to put forward a principled candidate in Mr. Austin Peterson, who is now also a Republican Liberty Caucus member. He's also left the Libertarian Party, and
that's interesting.
And he was actually one of the deciding factors. When I saw him take the step, I said, you know what, I'm gonna go with Mr. Austin Peterson, and I'm gonna take that step too. He left the Libertarian Party shortly after that, I left the Libertarian Party, and you know, they had the chance to nominate him as president, and I think that he would have done a lot better than Gary Johnson, the person that they did put up.
I support Austin Peterson as presidential candidate, and I was disappointed when he was not selected. Gary Johnson? Are you kidding?
I was extremely disappointed, and
not because of Aleppo.
Right.
I mean, Gary Johnson was a good governor, but I would not want him for president. I don't like his stance on a lot of the issues. But, question, do you think that if the Freedom Caucus, the conservative Republicans, the Gaetz, Jim Jordan, Ron DeSantis group of Republicans, could match with the Liberty Caucus folks? So the Libertarians kind of go their way and the swamp Republicans go their way. Do you think, even if they don't switch parties necessarily, do you think there's like an interesting coalition that could form around that?
I would hope so.
Okay.
I would very much appreciate that. That would be wonderful to me. I would be ecstatic if that were to be the case. And as far as I know, there's no animosity between the two groups or anything like that. So I don't see why that couldn't happen. But that, yeah, back to the Baghdad rally, back to the email.
We're going to finish this Baghdad rally. Then we're going to finish our video, but
right.
yeah. Then we'll be back in a little bit with just Donny and me with some issues, but yeah.
In the email, he outlined he outlined what happened. Mr. Cris Dosev.
We got to get very caught up here.
Mr. Cris Dosev.
What are you talking about this time?
Outlined in an email against me what happened at the Baghdad rally. That I spoke for Mr. John Mills after being a Matt Gaetz worker. He took a picture off of my Facebook page and put it in the email, which is fine. It was a public picture. He said that I had scrubbed my profile of anything that would hint to me working for Mr. Matt Gaetz, which is absolutely not true. The only reason why he can't see it is because after he told me that I hate veterans, I decided to block him. I said, you know what, I don't want to even see any of the trash that he puts out anymore. The only reason why I saw the email...
What idiot would say that you hate veterans?
Yeah. Honestly,
that makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
It's easily disproven.
Right.
It makes the accuser look like an idiot.
Absolutely. So
sorry, Chris.
So the reason why he wasn't able to see that is because I blocked him. I know that there are people on my friends list right now that are Cris Dosev supporters. I've never really talked to them. And one of the funniest things is I'd actually made a post on Facebook a few days before it happened that said, not all of your friend requests are actual friend requests. Some of them are just surveillance cameras. And when I read that, I knew it. I reposted it. I posted it in a few groups, and it had actually come right after I had received another an obviously fake profile, and I accepted the friend request, and I decided to try to mess with that person. The name was, since we were naming names here, I believe it was Candace Thomas on Facebook. She had one other friend when she added me. I contacted that friend. I said, hey, do you know this person? He was like, no, they just added me, and I added them back up. And I put out a message.
What's the surveillance camera? They're just watching your profile,
right?
Doing it for somebody else.
Yeah,
it's not actual physical camera.
Right.
Taking pictures of your. Although that probably could happen.
Okay. I messaged all the friends that were on my list that were that had also added her, and let them know, hey, I'm pretty sure this is a fake profile. And after that happened, I made the post about some of them just being surveillance cameras, and I know that there are people watching my profile for the Cris Dosev campaign, just because of watching their post, watching everything else that gets said and things like that. He took the picture off my profile, put it on there, told everybody that I scrubbed my profile of any mention of working for Matt Gaetz, which isn't true. I put out what I thought was a beautiful thank you to the Matt Gaetz campaign and to the Bob White campaign. And after Gallery Night in Pensacola and after working for the Bob White campaign, I was gonna be kind of finished with that level with the primary, and I was gonna focus more, like I said earlier, spending time with my family, being home.
Everybody says that when they're getting out of politics.
Right. But my second focus, focus is getting my friend Shannon Rice elected to Milton City Council. She's also a limited government Republican, and I'm working with her on the Liberty Compact. We're talking back and forth. We're going to see where that goes. Vote Shannon Rice for Milton City Council. That was going to be my main focus. I was going to forget about everything. Then the email came up. In the email, he also came very close. It seems like he knew what he was doing, and he was tiptoeing the line. He came very, very close to accusing John Mills of campaign fraud, of financial fraud. He talked about how John Mills had received a donation from an undisclosed source, which I'm pretty sure everybody knows that those undisclosed sources really aren't all that undisclosed if you go and look into them.
They're all public record. When they have
absolutely, they have to be.
Yeah.
He mentioned that he accused John Mills and myself of being plants for the Gaetz campaign for the specific reason to divide the vote. And other people who had commented on Facebook actually were saying on things that I could not reply to, things that I was able to see just because I'm not sure if they know that they're public and that I can see them. they were saying things like, "Oh, how much did Don Gaetz pay you?" And I'm like, "Hey, I was supposed to get paid? Like, I didn't."
Yeah, where is it?
Yeah, where? How much did he pay me? I don't know. Call me, Don.
Well, you know, it's interesting. With Cris Dosev, there's a lot of. I'm curious about Phil Air on this for a second, because a lot of people are voting for Cris Dosev just because he's a veteran, and Matt Gaetz isn't. To me, that's not enough of a reason. I know a lot of veterans who are voting for Cris Dosev because they really like him. I understand that, and that's a perfectly principled position. I may not agree with it, but it's a principled position. I understand that. But what's happened? What Cris is doing.